Hello everyone and welcome back once again to Microsoft Flight Simulator. No, this is not a this is a revisit video, but it's not a re-up of the original Airbus H135 that we did before. This aircraft has been revamped, reloaded, and has a lot more on the table. The original free mod was great. This is just an improvement on that. First and foremost, you might notice our nice shiny chrome livery here. It's like a blue chrome. There are additional liveries available. I think the textures look just a little bit better as well. And the two big things for me is the rotor head, main rotor head animation, as well as the internal. Do you remember on the first video I actually had to manually duck audio, whereas there's a big old thunderstorm brewing. We gotta get in the air soon. The external audio for the helicopter was quieter than the internal audio. That has also been fixed. As well as, I just hit the DCS button to go inside. We've got this little iPad over here. That's going to manage our autopilot and stuff like that. So we're obviously in a cold and dark state. And the message we have right here saying, collective control not ready. Move your collective axis up and down. To initialize it, this message will dismiss once you've done so. So I'm actually going to do that. I have something bound on my stick, so I'm going to move the collective, and now you can see we have autopilot settings here. We've got flight tools, we have an aircraft configuration things, we can set it as cold as dark, which we are now. Ready for takeoff, which would spin everything up and have us ready to take off, or to shut down the engines automatically if we didn't want to do that. Same flight modes, basic, advanced, Xbox. We're going to go with advanced. And that's that. So the startup procedure has changed as well. It's slightly more realistic. Instead of coming down here, you can see this is much more accurate to the H135, formerly EC135. As far as the layout here, there's no big gigantic rocker switches. Those have migrated up to here. There were some before, but I think one or two of them were functional. Whereas now, just about every one of these switches is functional, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and turn on our main battery. And you can see our two Garmin displays there spin up. Those are still in place where they were. But our PFD, our MFD, and then our SIC's PFD have totally been overhauled, totally overwritten, all of that. So I've got the option for an engine menu, like an ICAS sort of deal. I can do nav aids, and that actually loads our flight plan. You can see a little bit ahead if you know where ADW is. It's Andrews Air Force Base. We're in DC today. And then I can get a sort of an isoline map. Well, not really. It just outlines the airspaces and that. I think that's the one we're going to be using. And then I can go to my electronic flight bag and load the different things there, so I can look at, you know, engine limitations, general aircraft limitations. I think transmission, they're talking like the rotor shaft and that sort of thing. But anyway, let's go back to our engines. And we'll go ahead and get some external lighting going. We'll get our nav and beacon on. We'll head outside. I'm actually going to get rid of this dev mode menu so you guys don't have to look at that. I am running a third-party lighting suite. So I have mine set up to mimic all LEDs on this helicopter. So if you remember before, the beacon was a rapid flash, the strobes were a rapid flash. If I go back in and I turn on our strobes, you should be able to see them. So they're a more steady LED type flash, which is cool. There's three options. I think there's three options. There's the default US variant, all LEDs. So I think there's actually four, and then a European variant. But anyway, so we've got our beacon and our strobes on. Next we need, I'm actually going to put some fuel in our aux tank, because it always starts me without fuel in the aux tank. We will get some fuel going here. So I've got our engine 1 and 2 prime pumps on. Probably turn on our inverter and our standby batteries as well. Okay, let's go ahead and start engine 1. So to do that, we have our control mode switch here. So we've got off, idle, and then our flight detent. So we're going to move it to idle. And if we come down here, you can see all of our warnings on our annunciator. So we're on backup SAS, trims off, heats off, pitot heat 1, pitot heat 2 are off. Our prime pumps for engine 1 and 2 are on. Our hydraulics have failed because obviously there's no hydraulic pressure being generated by the engines. So as is standard with Airbus aircraft, it's a fully automated startup process, so we basically flip the switch and make sure it's good to go. Alright, there's that noise we love. It is better though, so it's louder on the outside than it is on the inside. So that's good. I'm going to turn on our right generator. I'm going to turn off our engine 1 prime pump. I'm going to set engine 2 to start. I think it sounds a little bit better too. Don't remember if we got heat distortion. Oh, we're still having that freezing issue. Don't remember if we got heat distortion in the first one or not, but there is heat distortion now. You can see that coming off of the number 1 engine. You'll see it on the number 2 shortly as it springs into life. Autopilot trims on. Waiting on successful startup of engine 2. L2 spinning up. Looks like we got a good light off there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our generator and shut off our priming pump. Get the air conditioner going because it's hot out. Don't want that. I do want my... Where are you? Exit lights on. Well, we need capacity lights, but we can here. I'll show you the instrument lights here. So if we did get ourselves into a situation where we're flying night, it's not very visible now. We'll go ahead and make it dark here for a second. So you can see we've got really nice instrument lighting, should we want it. Lights up our whole panel nice. There is rear cabin lighting. Kind of see that as I toggle it on and off. Off, on. And actually this will give us a chance to look at the external lights as well. So you can see a whole lot more going on. The lights are brighter, more intense. I will further demonstrate that possibly at a later time. The exit lights on. Okay, so the next thing for us to do is we're going to move our engines from the idle position to the flight detent. So we'll go ahead and do that now, and you'll hear the aircraft spin up. This still needs just a little bit of work. I've heard many EC-135s and I think one H135. It's very, very much the same aircraft, just different ownership, Eurocopter versus Airbus. But I'm fairly certain I know I've heard lots of EC-135 spin up, but it's not quite this is. So let's do engine 1 and engine 2. They're simultaneous. It's definitely better than it was, but I still think it could use some work myself. But that's just me. Okay, pitot heat's on. Running lights on, trims released, air conditioning's on. Those are all good. We will acknowledge them. Let's switch this to our map here. We'll do nav. You can see we got a really nice bright landing light on the front as well as on the bottom. Those have been fixed. They're looking great. Alright, so let's get up in the air here. I do apologize if you guys see any obvious breaks in the edit. The reason for that is it is very hot right now, as I would imagine it is for a lot of you guys. And the room that I record in is heating up pretty significantly. So I take little breaks. I turn on my air conditioner and let it cool down. And then I don't want noise going while I am recording, so I just stop the recording. But, so that's what's going on, if you do notice. But if you don't, then cool. Awesome. Glad you didn't notice. I mean, you probably did now because I said something. But anyway, so let's get bearing 1 set to GPS. And I want our ODS set to GPS. Get weather.
Washington Airport information, uniform 15000. Wind 23, 1 at 8. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, few clouds at 1,100 feet. Few clouds at 4,100 feet. Few clouds.
I'm actually going to turn flight sim down just a little bit. I turned it up because I was flying a quieter airplane before. Do the cheat dial, but so normally we would request takeoff clearance and all that, but because we're a helicopter, we're going to do a quick hover check and just leave. Oh, also I should mention, you can individually turn on and off each one of these displays, which is pretty awesome. Don't know why you'd want to fly with one off, but you can, you know. So we want that coupled to mine. Oh, synthetic vision is a thing. Cool. So I have synthetic vision, our SIC doesn't? Interesting. Okay. Alright, let's get airborne. So the last time, it was a very aggressive, jarring movement from getting airborne to landing. It's still a little bit herky-jerky, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in some left rudder, and we'll add some collective here. Let you guys be the judge of how it looks. I think that's much, much better. So still following that green dot. Best as we can. Fix the stutters. Let's set back down here really quick. Oh, going backwards. A pretty good clip actually too. So I personally think that's a lot better of a set down. We can watch it from the outside. We'll set down. That's way better. I mean, it does still jerk it a little bit, but not nearly as bad as it did before. So let's get in the air for real this time. Get on our flight path. Sorry, little 150. Never flown a EC-135 or a HK or H135, my Airbus equivalent, but I would imagine it wasn't as responsive as the V1 of this Hilo was, and this is much, much better in my opinion. So we should be following the Hilo now. The Hilo should be flying itself. Let's take a look at some of the sights. So we've got coming up Pentagon, which obviously, you know, we're breaking all kinds of crazy airspace restrictions here. You know, we would have been shot down long, long ago. But because this is flight sim, we can do what we want, kind of, sort of. I don't know how they utilize that runway. How do you use that runway and not get shot down for almost hitting the Pentagon? There's our dual Washington monuments, just like you would expect in... Okay, well, there's the Lincoln Memorial. Just one of those. That's good. That's what you want. But the Yeah, there's dual Washington monuments. This one here, the one on the left, looks more accurate to me. White House. Should clear all other buildings. See the state capitol off of our nose. I'm fairly certain autopilot's new. I don't remember an autopilot being in the old version. I just didn't notice it. National Capital, of course. I believe that is the Smithsonian Museum. Either that or the one we're overflying now. So let's head back in the cockpit, see where we're heading next. Oh, it's not...